Real estate is no longer just for the rich to invest in. Let's talk about starting a rental business with 3 different levels of cash. So I work with a lot of clients in my consultation sessions who have a very diverse background and different levels of resources, including cash. But undoubtedly, the number one question that I get is, can I start this rental business with X amount of money or X amount of cash? And my answer inevitably always is a resounding yes. It just changes the strategy a little bit depending on how much capital you have available. But the point is that you can start producing reasonable to ludicrous levels of cash with the rental business, regardless of how much money you have to start off with. I'm gonna break down the levels, but you can jump to the level that is most applicable to you, just right down here. Or you can help me out with the algorithm and watch the whole thing through, and maybe you can learn something, and then you can pick and choose which strategy best suits you. Totally up to you though. Stay to the end though, and I'll give you a bonus strategy that dudes and ladies like this use to make even more money. Actually, crazy amounts of money. What I'm about to share with you is gonna differ from market to market. It's gonna be different for all of us because we're all living in different areas of the world. Sorry, Nebraska, but it's true. Of course, you can't do all the strategies I'm about to share with you in all countries and all states and all cities around the world, but you'll be surprised at how successful you can be by implementing what I'm about to show you in areas near and around cities that are considered too hot. End of disclaimer. Let's get into it. Now we're starting at a higher level here, but don't worry, we'll work our way down to having little to no money, but I wanted to give you a taste of where you will be in a few short years. This strategy here is all about land hacking, which is what I personally do, and actively working to the next super sane level of ultimate land hacking, which I talk about in my last video. Check that one out. At this level, you're searching for land with a house on it that meets or exceeds a key criteria. You can use my golden triangle method and my Airbnb strategies that I used and show you in this previous video. Now you can go watch that video, or you can actually download my free PDF and the spreadsheet that I use to analyze properties just right here on my website that I just created. Now, when I'm searching for land in a house with a property or a property with a house on it, I don't really care what size or shape or condition the house is in, except 2 things. I don't want a brand new construction, and I don't want a house that holds no value. The happy medium here is to actually find a house that's beat up enough where it needs a lot of upgrades or remodeling, but it can still hold value so you can get a normal loan, a conventional loan. And the key thing here is that it has to be appraisable. Is that a word? The reason behind this is because you can't buy land with a conventional loan. Land loans are really kind of sucky for most people because it requires a really good credit score, a significant down payment, and the years that it's amortized over, it's not ideal. If there is an appraisable, I'm gonna assume that's a real word, permitted home on that piece of property, guess what? You can get a conventional loan. Yours truly of Kai Andrew Bank. The strategy here is to buy the home with a standard mortgage, and then you start to fix up the home to build equity, and then you place glamp sites, campsites, and RVs or trailers on the property, so it's gonna be a little bit of a bigger piece of property, in order to produce both equity and cash flow. When done properly, it's not uncommon to create $200,000 to $300,000 in equity and another $10,000 to $20,000 in cash flows every single month within 12 to 18 months of buying the property. Not too bad of a return on a $100,000 investment. Okay, so 2 methods here. The first method is something that we all know. Let's say it together. House hacking. That's right, we all know what it is. I'll spare you the long-winded explanation of it, but essentially you go out there, you buy a house that needs a lot of cosmetic fixing up or remodeling. You do that, create equity, rent it out. Bob's your uncle. I'm not sure if I just used that right or not. So in this scenario with a little bit less money, you're basically using that money for the down payment on the home and then a little bit of extra to upgrade the home, whether it's paint, hardwood floors, or maybe some new doors and trim or something like that to boost that equity. And then you rent out the rooms or the spare areas of the house out so that you cover at least half, if not most or all of your mortgage. Now, the general rule of thumb that I tell my clients is when you're starting to go down this path, you should be thinking for every dollar that you put into the home, you want to create $3 of equity on the backside. Now, the key advice here I'd give a younger baby Kai is to always buy a single family home that has multiple living areas, or they have space to create more space to have a private dwelling unit, private living space, essentially is what I'm trying to say. Think an ADU or converted garage. You'll undoubtedly always make more money going down this path. To be honest, any single family home that doesn't have more than one living area or separate living quarters is a complete waste of time and money for most young investors and starting homeowners. But the second method under this level of cash is actually where it gets really juicy and interesting. It's called Lease and Hack. It's actually where you lease land and you hack it. Now with simple Craigslist ad just like this, I'll rent your vacant unused land, hit me up. You'll immediately start getting replies and responses to your ad and start getting your pick of different parcels of land in your area or whatever area you advertise in. Now it's totally up to you to vet the location, obviously big one, and then make sure that zoning is applicable to what you're trying to do. Applicable. I think I said that right. And once you approve those two things, you're ready for action. Now, once again, in this scenario, it's all about cash flow. Whenever we lease, we want to create cash flow. When we buy, we want to create equity and then cash flow. But in this lease model, what we're doing with this raw piece of land is we're thinking glamp, camp, RV, or trailer. Those are the 4 operations that we want to be able to do and use this piece of land for. Now, once you secure that piece of land, you have a ton of options here. Assuming that zoning allows it, you can pull up a tiny house, trailer, whatever you want to live in, live on that piece of land while you build out the glamp and campsite. And on average, each site should cost you around $10,000, sometimes even less. But once done, it should generate anywhere between $3,000 to $5,000 each and every month. Now, when you're first starting off, you probably don't have a ton of money. You might even have no money. Don't worry, you're not out of the game yet. The best way to dip your toes into the real estate market is actually what we just discussed, is lease and hack. But we're not leasing land quite yet unless you want to get super risky, which I wouldn't really suggest in the beginning because you still need a place to live and land is a lot of work. But you heard me right. In the beginning, it's not about owning. It's about creating cash flows. And then that will lead us to be able to have the funds to actually buy and own and reinvest. So just like the previous ones, there's a standard model, there's a premium model. You can choose and decide what works best for you and your circumstances. Now, typically what people do is they rent out a home, they need roommates, they split the rent or they split the lease. But in this scenario, what you're doing is that you're negotiating a lease on a whole property or a home, and then you rent out the rooms at a fair market rate. You're not doing just a lease split. And here's why. When you lease that home, you're going to create a premium. And what I mean by this is that you're going to go in there and you're going to fully furnish it, just like if you're going to do any other type of short-term rental or vacation home. Gather ideas off of Pinterest, Instagram, or even Airbnb itself. You're going to decorate the house, you're going to furnish the house, except the bedrooms. That's going to be for the roommates or your tenants. And now, depending on the size of the home itself and then how crafty you are, you can actually furnish out a home for relatively cheap, from anywhere from Goodwills to IKEA and online stores. Typically about $3,000 to $5,000 right here, because you remember, you're not furnishing the bedrooms. So I know a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home is usually going to be about $2,000 a month here. Now, I know you're already yelling at the screen that your area is double that price. Just adjust the numbers accordingly in your area to see if this works for you. Now, if I have a fully furnished, really nicely decorated place, I know that I can rent out each one of those rooms between $800 to $1,000 each. What my goal is here is to cancel out my lease, so I have no housing expenses. Once I hit that, I'm living for free, and I take all that money and I funnel it straight into my savings and investment accounts. That's the first level of hack. The premium model is that I go out and I actually lease a bigger, nicer property that has at least 2 separate living areas. You can see where I'm going with this. Now, we're gonna use the same strategy as that first model, where we fully furnish, decorate it, rent out 2 rooms long term. And if you feel comfortable with it at any time, you can also rent those out short term. It's just, I know a lot of people don't like having a shared space with transient travelers or vacationers. But in this case, let's assume that we're going to rent out the 2 rooms. We can now charge slightly higher price because we're in a nicer area. We are paying a premium for a nicer house. We can rent those out for $1,000 a piece. But we also have an ADU or a converted garage or a separate basement that we can rent out short term. Now, very conservatively, I can rent out a separate living quarters for about $65 to $100 a month. That will generate roughly $1,500 a month at an 80% occupancy rate. Now, a home like this will probably lease out around $3,000 to $3,200 a month. But right there, I'm generating around $3,500. In some peak months, I'll be generating close to $4,000 a month. And right there, you're now cash flowing the property and putting away in your bank probably close between $300 to $800 every single month while living rent and mortgage free. So if you have the capital and the funding to do so, typically around $250,000 plus in cash or funding, the best strategy hands down is the ultimate land hack, where you buy several acres, around 10 plus acres, and you have a house, multiple apartments or ADUs on there, shop, glamp sites, trailers, campsites, and an event center. At this point in time, you're basically running a mini village or a business, a legit business, all on one piece of property. Now, this is personally what I'm looking for to purchase and build out, but if you want to see the true potential of what can really happen, I did a video just last week on my friend Cass, who is doing this exact same thing, and she's making $50,000 a month off of an original $315,000 investment with a conventional loan to buy 8.5 acres. Now, no matter how much cash that you have right now, the overarching goal between all of this is really simple. Create cash flows as fast as possible, use that cash to fund the next site and build out and improve that property, or reinvest and create more cash flows. Rinse and repeat. That's all it is. Now, I'm still booking consultation sessions, so if you're interested in real estate, short-term rentals, container homes, glamp sites, buying raw land, building your own house, anything like that, and you want to go over the financials or the financing of it, the red flags, permits, zoning, all that good stuff, hit me up down below or go to my website, kaiandrew.com, read the details, sign up for the free PDF and the spreadsheet, get in contact with me, and let's set something up. Other than that, be my hero, like and subscribe to the channel. I love you guys all, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.